Newsradio 1070 WKOK presents On the Mark. It's a chance to voice your opinion on the events that affect life in the Susquehanna Valley. Call 1-800-795-9565 or email onthemark@wkok.com. Now, here are your hosts for On the Mark, Mark Lawrence and Joe McGranahan.
Well, here's a big surprise. Mark Lawrence isn't here yet this morning. I understand he was out doing something very important, and he is on his way back. So I'm Joe McGranahan, filling in at the start of the program for both Mark and, of course, representing myself. On the Mark is brought to you by the Sunbury Motor Company, a family-owned dealership since 1915. 4 streets in Sunbury, routes 11 and 15 in Hummel's Wharf. Find out a lot more about them at www.sunburymotors.com. The Sunbury Motor Company sells Ford, Hyundai, Kia, and Lincoln cars. They're the premier service provider for all makes of cars and trucks and all sizes of trucks, and are a master towing service with decades of experience. We have an open phone day this morning, so 1-800-795-9565. That's our toll-free hotline number. You're welcome to call and talk about any topic that's on your mind this morning. We have a couple of things that we might discuss as well, so it's an open day. Give us a call, 1-800-795-9565. Or email us at our Lenape Solar email in basket. It's wide open. Email onthemark@wkok.com, and we'll read your email, of course. Lenape Solar is located at 140 South 2nd Street in Sunbury. You can find them on the web at www.lenapesolar.com or phone them at 570-286-1496. At Lenape Solar, they invite you to harness the power of the sun for a brighter tomorrow. And as always, we remind you about our webcam. If you go to WKOK.com, click on the Mark, and then click on the live webcam link, you will be able to see the program in living color. Not that there's anything at the moment worth seeing, since Kevin has a close-up of my formerly hair-filled head.
Well, I was debating on the particular shot I was going to use.
The wider the angle, the better when I'm on, Kevin, my boy.
Right. Well, I just
back that thing off a little bit.
I don't know. I find your head very distinguished.
Well, it's very shiny as well. I should have. There were a number of ladies over in the other studio being on Drew and Allie's program, so maybe I should go over there and see if they have any pancake makeup I can apply to the top of my head.
A little concerned about the shine, huh?
Yes, I am a little concerned about it. Hey, I've got a story here that I think you would find very interesting, because I know you're a football fan.
Sure.
You do all our play-by-play and exciting stuff. The American Humanist Association is about to learn a very important lesson. Folks around Gainesville, Georgia, don't take kindly to out-of-town atheists trying to bully their children. More than 200 people turned out in defiance of the self-described atheist group early Wednesday morning for an impromptu prayer rally in the middle of the Chestatee High School football field. The previous day, the atheists, acting on behalf of a single unnamed citizen, sent a letter to the school officials demanding that the football coaching staff stop participating in team prayers and that they remove all biblical references and religious messages from team documents. To the best of anyone's knowledge around Gainesville, no one associated with the football team has a problem with the voluntary prayers. The atheists say that's beside the point, citing the Establishment Clause. The atheists apparently went undercover to photograph coaches engaged in what they considered to be unseemly and unconstitutional behavior with the teenage football players. We have received reports, and this is a quote, that CHS coaches have joined players in prayer while standing in a circle, hands interlocked. The atheists breathlessly reported in their letter to the Hall County School District. Hands interlocked? I can only imagine that atheists across the fruited plain shuddered at such damning evidence. The atheists also got upset when the team workout schedule included the words Fortitude 2014, Galatians 6:9, and the cheerleaders wrote a Bible verse on a large banner, Iron sharpens iron, Proverbs 21:17. As they say in the Deep South, local residents are preparing to back up and bring it. If the atheist group doesn't like prayer, then tell them to stick their fingers in their ears, said one caller to radio station WDUN. So is that prevalent around here, Kevin?
Not that I'm aware of that it happens on a regular basis. I think sometimes there is a moment in some schools. Obviously, Catholic schools will definitely have a moment of prayer before a game. But
they're not public schools. I don't think they are. They would have an argument with that.
I mean, I can't. No, I don't think so either. I wouldn't think they would have an argument anyway. I don't know of any team that specifically does it. I don't know of any team that doesn't, for that matter, either. So I can't really speak educatedly on a topic like that. But what I can tell you is, if nobody has a problem with it and none of the players or parents are complaining about it, why is someone who is not affiliated with the program in any way complaining?
Well, I think because they feel it is a violation of the Establishment Clause of the Constitution.
But if you're a participant and you're not upset about it or you're not offended by it, why should somebody who is not there when it happens be offended by it? How can you be offended by something that doesn't involve you? I guess that's my question, Joe.
Well, I think they feel it does involve them because they feel that they're violating a constitutional principle of separation of church and state. But here's the interesting thing. Nothing said that the prayers that I saw were Christian, except it quotes the Bible. But the Bible, Galatians is Old Testament, isn't it?
No.
New Testament's okay.
Well, the other question is,
depends on which Bible you're
how
reading.
How about all the signs you used to see at football games and still do at sporting events that say John 3:16? Should they be banned as well?
Well, they're not done by the coaching staff. They're
No.
usually somebody sitting in the end zone that they hold up that sign when the Mark Lawrence has arrived. By the way, that's his noise you hear in the background.
Say, you can tell that he's there. You can hear it.
Wringing the neck of his coffee mug.
My goodness, that was the noisiest entry into a building.
I don't know if he keeps it up. I'm going to pot his mic down.
No, we're good. Hey, buddy.
How you doing? Good to see you back.
It's great to be back. I was out in the farm. What are you talking about, church and state? Whatever it is, it should be separate. Let's move on.
Well, we were talking about the American Humanist Association threatening to file a lawsuit against the Gainesville, Georgia high school football team because the coaches enter into prayer with the players. And they form a circle and hold hands and say a prayer before the game.
There have been many games where I've asked for divine intervention, quite frankly.
Well, I think most people in the stands are praying for one team or the other. Poor God, he has to make up his mind who's going to win, who's going to lose.
And what do you say after a blowout game is finally over, Kevin?
Thank God.
Yes, that's it.
I used to when I played have a prayer that said, "Please try and keep me from getting hurt doing something stupid."
Well, the thing is,
unfortunately, I don't think anybody listened to either one.
The Humanist Association is saying their coaches are using their positions to promote Christianity, but nothing in the story that I read said it was Christian prayer or that it would be limited strictly to Christians if there were Jews on the team or members of some other faith, that they could also pray as well.
Right, God is God is God, so you can sort of maybe weave that into it.
Unless there's somebody there who believes in the sun god and the war god and
can I ask
has
a question?
multiple deities.
Joe, you had mentioned in the story that they had put a verse in on signs that the cheerleaders made, and also on some notes for
the atheists got upset because the team workout schedule includes the words Fortitude 2014, Galatians 6:9, and the cheerleaders wrote a Bible verse on a large banner, iron sharpens iron, Proverbs 21:17.
I guess my question to that is, if you're expressing yourself, why is that a problem? If you're putting out the piece of paper from the coach, and this is the coach's notes, here's the schedule, and I'm going to express myself in the schedule.
Well, I think if they hadn't put the biblical references in, if they had just left it at Fortitude 2014 and iron sharpens iron, there probably wouldn't have been any objection.
But don't you have the right to freedom of speech, and this is part of it?
Well, is that, one could argue it's just an innocuous attribution of, where that particular
that's a good point, Mark.
Good sports reference came from. I mean, I certainly favor keeping things as separate as possible, but it could be, there are Confucius quotes that people use, and so if I see one, I don't think, well, whoever put that there is trying to convince me to become whatever
Confucian
or whatever religion he was. I don't know that.
Charlie Chan, I watched all of his movies, and he was always quoting Confucius.
Okay, well, so was he trying to make you become a Hindu or something like that?
No.
Whatever.
And he had his chauffeur, Baltimore Jones, was always saying confusion instead of Confucius.
No, Confusion says.
Confusion says.
I would guess he was Buddhist, but I don't know for sure.
Right. Okay. So therefore, all those Confucius quotes that you see, is that an advocacy?
Well, I don't think prayer ever hurts. I mean, they're praying that they won't be injured, that they'll have a clean game. I mean, they're not there specifically, I don't think, for worship and praise. They may be, but I mean, I would think that it's the typical kind of thing that I recall from high school prayer. Grant that we do a good job, nobody gets hurt, we play a clean game. I don't see anything wrong with that. That could be completely non-denominational, but if you're invoking the deity, then I suspect it becomes a religious reference issue.
I know there's even been people that have complained about individual players going into the end zone and kneeling down for prayer. I find that absolutely ridiculous because that involves nobody else.
The kneeling or the protest is ridiculous.
The protest is ridiculous.
Well, I thought I brought this along because it was interesting, and I didn't. I must have clipped it, and then last week we didn't get to use it. But there is a state, and I forget which one it is, Kevin, maybe you can look it up, that is adding "In God We Trust" to their motto, to their flag. And people are upset about that because they're, and they said it's been on the currency since, the 1930s, and so what's the problem? But people are upset about that. So, I think there is an attempt by the part of these atheist or agnostic groups to certainly get out all references to God, but I still believe the majority of Americans believe in the deity and worship him in some form or another, so invoking him, it doesn't seem to me like it should be an issue.
You said that there's a state that's putting it on, where are they putting it?
On their flag, I believe.
Mississippi put it on their seal.
That's it, Mississippi,
okay.
Thank you.
So they're adding it now.
Yeah, they're adding it to their seal. I was trying to remember that. Thank you, Kevin. You were very quick over there.
The national motto.
Well, what's wrong with that? In God we trust. What do we want to put up there? In nothing we trust?
Well, I think that you should try to keep God as separate from your government as you can in terms of your governmental operations. God doesn't really have a place in government. He has a place in our lives. And so, the people who are the governmental leaders should, I hope, hold a faith dear and have a God if they wish to. If they wish to be atheists, that's their choice. But that, I think, when you take one particular faith and you impose it on other people by putting "In God We Trust" on flags or coins or mottos or whatever it happens to be, I think you're imposing a religion on other people.
Really? What religion are you imposing with "In God We Trust"?
A religion, any religion, doesn't matter. If you are an atheist, why should you be subjected to someone holding up a flag in front of your face that says "In God You Trust" when the Mississippi flag is being displayed?
Well, what's the harm in it?
There isn't any harm per se, except that government's supposed to be separate from religion.
But it's not entirely separate. It says the government shall not establish a religion.
That's right. Let me read this.
How are you establishing a religion by putting "In God We Trust" there? Every religion believes in God that I can think of.
Let me read this, and I want both of your impressions on this. This is the text as it's written in the First Amendment. Congress shall make no law respecting an establishment of religion or prohibiting the free exercise thereof, or abridging the freedom of speech or press or the right of the people peacefully to assemble and to petition the government for redress of grievances.
Right. That's
redress,
pretty well established.
But my question is, the first line is the one that I always get confused about when people talk about the freedom of religion. Congress shall make no law respecting an establishment of religion. It doesn't say anything more than it says a law. That's where the question runs in my mind.
You have to think of what the intent of the framers of the Constitution was. They didn't want a Church of England here in the United States. They didn't want, places where the Catholic Church is established as the primary religion. They didn't want that. That was their goal, to present a place where people from any faith could come and live and worship as they chose. And that was their intent. And I think by and large they could have probably taken more specific wording, but it's left it open to interpretation over the years, and the Supreme Court has done that in cases that have come before it. But here we're not talking about the establishment of a religion, we're talking about a prayer. So how is a prayer establishing a religion unless you make it pervasive and require people to participate, make it mandatory? I understand, do they even say the Pledge of Allegiance in school anymore?
They do, but it's not mandatory.
It's not mandatory. Okay.
So you just say nothing or sit down or wait? Or
you just hang out, yeah. They do the Pledge of Allegiance, but not everybody is. It's not required.
Well, we have
at least in the school that I'm aware, in the Danville district anyway.
Joe from Mifflinburg has solved our problem. He says, round up the atheists and stick them on an island. There, problem solved.
Actually, it'd be much easier. You'd save a lot of time if you'd round up the people who have a faith and stick them on an island, because there's fewer of them.
You think there are more atheists than there are people of faith?
If you put Christians on an island, there would be fewer than half there. If you separated out specifically among Christians, Catholics, there'd be fewer than half there. So it'd be much easier to just pick out a religion and put them on an island than to pick out atheists.
A specific religion as opposed to all religion.
Right, or Christian religions, or Jewish religions. I mean, really, and honestly, that's like Holocaust thoughts. What's the difference between killing people, gassing them because they're Jews, or gassing them because they're not faith believers?
Well, look at ISIS over in the Middle East. They're killing people just who won't convert to Islam. And someone posted a thing that said that in countries where people of the Islamic faith are in the minority, they are always pushing for minority rights, and in countries where they are the majority, there are no minority rights. So to a certain extent, ISIS and groups like that have given Muslims a bad name. But I think basically religion is good. It gives you something to believe in. I mean, how can you go through life without believing in anything, any greater power? It seems to me that's hard to do.
I think atheists believe in science.
Well, all right, where did science come from?
Well, I think you and I think that a lot of it is God-inspired, and some of the allegories that are in the Bible are true. But the fact of the matter is that we don't impose that on other people. We don't make other people. We let people find their religion on their own.
Well, we're going to take a break, and then I'm going to switch seats with Mark and let him come back over here and run this thing, and I'll sit over there and relax. Yeah, put your shoes back on, and please clean up the coffee spill there on the desk.
Sorry.
We'll take a break, and we'll be right back with more of On the Mark.
While looking for a vehicle, you know that if it sounds too good to be true, chances are it is too good to be true. You get the runaround, gotta go from place to place. Well, you can just skip all of that and go straight to Sunbury Motor Company. Sunbury Motor Company has been satisfying more customers and selling more cars since 1915, so you know they've got it right. No offers that look good on paper or online, and then you get disappointed when you see them in person. Sunbury Motor Company offers a lineup few other auto dealers in the area can compete with. With the inventory of Ford, Hyundai, Kia, and Lincoln vehicles, there will be no problem finding the right vehicle that fits your needs and your budget. And the friendly, knowledgeable staff's ready and able to help you with everything from the test drive to the drive off the lot. See for yourself at Sunbury Motors. Sunbury Motors, Ford, Lincoln, Hyundai in the North 4th Street Auto Plaza, Sunbury. And Sunbury Motors Kia, routes 11 and 15, Hummel's Wharf. Look for them online anytime at sunburymotors.com.
Welcome back to On the Mark. Mark Lawrence is back in his normal seat, and all's right with the world.
Welcome back to the WKOK Hour of Power, the Faith Hour here on WKOK. Good morning, David. You are on the mark.
I think if we're living in a community, let's say, where the majority are Mormons or whatever specific denomination, and they want to use their prayer, let's say there's 75% of the student body is Mormon, then it would seem that they'd want to use Mormon-type prayers in the public school, or if it was Catholic or whatever. And I think this is why the separation and avoiding this is advantageous. Of course, I'm just talking about Christianity. Just imagine if we lived in a community where there was a majority of the kids that went to the school were Hindu, for instance. We're not prepared to deal with those things. I don't think many Christians are, so let's keep it separation of church and state, and I think that's why the Supreme Court voted the way they did some time ago about taking prayer out of the public school.
What do you think about this sports team that has a prayer before a game?
Well, it's the same question. Let's say it's a Catholic school, and most of the team players are Catholic. Should it be a Catholic prayer? Or what if the majority are, whatever? Should it be a prayer that represents that denomination? Or for that matter, should it be something from the Catholic Bible, the Protestant Bible, or the Jewish Bible?
But isn't this issue here more of the fact that the team is praying for a victory, that they do well, that no one is hurt, that they have a clean game? How is that denominational?
Well,
In our precious son's name.
In that sense, it would be very interesting to if we could have the actual words used in some of these prayers. I suspect some of the coaches would use the word Jesus, for instance, and that would make it very specific rather than a general type statement.
Well, I'll admit, I go to events where there are Christians and Jews present, and when someone gives an invocation and they always say, on our Lord Jesus Christ, I feel a little uncomfortable only from the standpoint that I hope it doesn't offend the people who aren't of that faith, who don't accept Jesus as the Savior. And this is not turning a religious program. It was really starting about football, and that's where the focus should be. But, I mean, I just don't see the denominational aspect of a prayer before a game. If it's not a full-blown religious service, but merely an effort to ask God to give them victory and to, grant that no one's hurt and that they do their best.
Well, I think this is where individuals can do individually how they want to do it rather than be led by a coach or whatever. I think that's the defining difference.
But again, if no one on the team or that's affiliated with the team is protesting, why should somebody that's not affiliated protest?
Well, you may have some folks on the team that feel offended but feel they better keep their mouth shut or they'll become third string or fourth string or off the team altogether if they say anything.
Well, they said it was one unnamed citizen. They were acting on behalf of one unnamed citizen. They don't say whether the citizen's
could be the
involved.
cornerback.
You're right. It could be the quarterback's mother. You don't know.
Thank you, David.
Yeah, thanks, Dave.
Yeah,
Appreciate your
take
call.
care.
You too. You don't really know who the person was who called, but I think that's, we're getting to the point where any expression at all of religion or morality or anything like that is considered offensive to people, and I don't understand why.
Well, here's a question for you, Joe. As a Christian, you're supposed to profess your faith and talk to people about it, but yet you can't do that because somebody's going to be offended.
Well, you can do it privately. It doesn't mean you have to do it at a school function. I think there's a big difference between living out your faith and making a good example of yourself. And the other side of that would be to do a Christian prayer in the huddle prior to a game. There's a big difference. I think one announces that coaches are right. That's sort of the premise of coaching. And if you're a Christian and you have somebody else in the group that is a Jew or a Muslim, you're sort of saying to them, well, your religion's not right. I'm the coach, so this is the right religion. You can have your own religion, but it's not the right one.
Well, yeah, but look at it this way. Let me give you an example. On the 4th of July, I was in my backyard getting ready to barbecue for a party we were having, and I look up and there's this woman in my backyard. She's carrying this large bag full of publications, and she said, I thought I smelled somebody back here cooking. And she was a Jehovah's Witness, and she was there with copies of the Watchtower. Now, I could have ordered her off my property, but I listened to her. I thanked her for dropping off the material, and she went on her way. How was I hurt by that? She's not of my faith. I'm not going to convert to hers.
I didn't say you were hurt.
No, but I mean, it's a matter of common courtesy, and it's respect for other people's religion. If you chose to offer what you consider to be a strictly Lutheran prayer, I would not be offended by that. I wouldn't get up and leave.
Okay, but I don't think that we're really talking about what you would be interested in tolerating. I think what
not toleration, it's respect.
Right, but that's fine. But you have a coach advocating for a particular religion if that coach uses that. We got 2 calls, a lot to do in a short amount of time. So we'll start with Kai. Good morning, sir. You're on the mark.
Well, now you got the attention of an old preacher.
Okay. Go ahead.
The problem is everybody, the people that make the most noise about this aren't the people that are the majority, it's the people that are the minority. Ever since Madeline, what's her name, Madeline Reno O'Hare?
Yep.
One person,
Madeline Murray O'Hare,
big enough to have prayer taken out of the public school system. It just seems like because we try to be so many things to so many people, that the minority now dictates how the majority is supposed to react. And there's an old Vulcan philosopher once said, the needs of the many outweigh the needs of the few, or the one. If a soldier can pray from a foxhole, if both houses of Congress can come together on the steps of the Capitol building in times of conflict and lead a nation in prayer, if there's a chaplain in both houses that lead both houses in prayer every day, who cares if the football team gets on their knees and prays God hand on them for protection, for guidance, for character building, not only for them but for the other team too. shame on us for trying to fine-tune this. And I'm going to quote, I think he was an admiral during the McCarthy hearings, who looked at everybody and said, shame on you. Shame on you. You should be ashamed of yourselves. That's all I got to say.
Okay, thank you very much for calling. Appreciate your comment.
What isn't that holding up the ideals of the Constitution that we don't know?
I think he's like this.
Of course, you wouldn't want to discuss it. Frank, you're on the mark.
Oh, good morning. I like to watch the football players at the end of the game when they're screaming and yelling, God gave us the victory and all that. And I guess the team that loses goes back into the locker room and say, God let us down. He didn't help us win. So there's the flip side of my amusement watching when they are including God in their huddles and prayers and all that. It's kind of humorous, but I don't object to watching or seeing them pray or ask for protection. So as a Christian, I'm not offended to see people pray, but I would agree it does impact me when I know that the name of Christ is used in the prayer when there's a general assembly of people who you do not know their faith, because you're kind of like hovering over or lording your faith above them. Whether you're not a Christian, you might be Hindu, Muslim, etc. So anyway, I'm enjoying the conversation this morning, guys.
It's possible to have an expression of faith without it being specific to a particular religion.
We're going to take this up again after the top of the hour. We're just about out of time on this particular segment. But the question is, when, if ever, should Christian prayer be allowed in the huddle?
Well, that's what the subject of the complaint was, and then also the fact that the cheerleaders put a biblical reference on a sign.
A scripture reference.
Right,
okay.
Scripture reference on the sign, and then the fact that the team schedule had something with a religious nature. But the primary objection was the prayer.
This is, now, Joe, does the story specifically say that this was done in the locker room before the game or halftime, or was it done out in the field?
It sounds like on the field, Kevin. It sounds like on the field.
Because I haven't seen or heard that happen. It's more common to do it in the locker room before you leave.
It says the atheists apparently went undercover to photograph coaches engaged in what they consider to be unseemly and unconstitutional behavior.
Yeah, it sounds to me like it's in the locker room then.
All right. We're going to take up this discussion. Where is God in the huddle? Where is he before or after the game? Where is she when we're talking about this? And we need to resolve this once and for all. Thank you, Joe.
She?
Thank you, Kevin. I'm Mark Lawrence. We'll be back with On the Mark at 9:06. This is WKOK Sunbury.
CBS News, I'm Peter King.
You need to move within your designated area immediately, or you will be subject to arrest.
Another night of unrest in Ferguson, Missouri.
I stood there and listened over the radio and heard the screams of those officers who were under gunfire. I saw a car pull up and drop a gentleman off, hit him a shot in the hand, and was dazed walking down the street. We can't have this.
Missouri Highway Patrol Captain Ron Johnson says when it was over, 2 people had been shot, no bullets fired by police. There were 31 arrests. CBS's Vladimir Duthier.
For 8 consecutive nights, demonstrators had clashed with police in Ferguson. Arrests were made with the help of protesters. But the flare-up led to an hours-long standoff between heavily armed police and demonstrators. Many cleared out as the night devolved into a now familiar scene of tear gas, smoke bombs, rubber bullets, riots, and looting.
Officially, Iraq says it's recaptured the huge Mosul Dam. Unofficially, the fighting continues with U.S. planes overhead. Sky News reporter Alex Crawford.
Heavy machine gun firing, the sound of mortar shelling possibly, and now the repetitive sound of a jet flying overhead seems to indicate that they have got a problem with IS fighters holding out.
A ceasefire between Hamas and Israel has been extended until late afternoon Eastern Time, while Egypt tries to negotiate a permanent truce. CBS's Robert Berger is in Jerusalem.
Under the emerging ceasefire deal, Israel would ease the blockade on Gaza and Hamas would end rocket attacks. The thorniest issues would be tackled later. Hamas wants a Gaza seaport, but Israel says that won't happen until Hamas gives up its weapons.
Some 3,000 people have left an area south of Yosemite National Park as a 1,200-acre wildfire burns. Madera County Sheriff spokeswoman Erica Stewart.
Very fast-moving. And the problem is, of course, the winds up there aren't helping it. We have exceedingly dry conditions. We're in a terrible drought right now.
Another fast-growing fire northeast of Bakersfield has burned through 3,000 acres since yesterday. Artifacts documenting the history of gay, lesbian, bisexual, and transgender Americans now become part of America's attic. CBS's Gary Nunn has the story live.
The Smithsonian Institution's getting photos, papers, historical items, even a collection of things from the TV series Will and Grace, depicting 4 friends, both gay and straight, including some scripts and a copy of the series finale. The donation to the National Museum of American History is part of a larger effort to document LGBT history, including the diplomatic passport of David Hubner, the first openly gay U.S. ambassador. Peter?
For almost 40 years,
Saturday Night Live.
Don Pardo has introduced that legendary show. His broadcast career goes back to radio's golden age, introducing news, sports, entertainment, and game shows. The TV Hall of Famer has died at his home in Arizona. Don Pardo was 96. S&P futures are up 5. This is CBS News.
Hey, it's Leah. TrueCar.com is changing car buying forever. Yes, every day, TrueCar users receive negotiation-free, guaranteed savings. Some features not available in all states. In the first 3 months of this year, over 126,000 cars were sold by the TrueCar Certified Dealer Network. TrueCar users save an average of $3,078 off MSRP. When you're ready to buy a car, just follow 3 easy steps. First, go to TrueCar.com and find out what other people paid for the car you're looking for. Then register at TrueCar.com to see upfront pricing information and lock in your savings. Third, simple. Just print out your TrueCar savings certificate and take it to the TrueCar certified dealer for a better, hassle-free car buying experience. Remember, every day, TrueCar users receive negotiation-free, guaranteed savings. Save time, save money, and never overpay. Visit TrueCar.com today. That's TrueCar.com.
There's been a recall of about 250,000 Brita water bottles featuring Dora the Explorer, Hello Kitty, and SpongeBob SquarePants. Consumer Product Safety Commission Chair Elliot Kay.
There have been 35 reports to the company of the lids breaking or cracking, but thankfully we have not seen any or heard of any incidents where kids have gotten cut.
Who's taking care of mom and dad when they can't take care of themselves? Odds are it's the daughter.
When it comes to taking care of mom and dad,
daughters provide more assistance to elderly parents than sons.
Angelina Grigorieva, a doctoral candidate in sociology at Princeton, finds it's women who wind up taking care of their parents when they can no longer care for themselves. Daughters provide an average of 12 hours of elderly parent care per month. Sons, little more than 5. Fair to say women are doing most of the work?
Yes, that's fair to say.
Grigorieva's research shows it takes a toll on women's mental and physical health. Deborah Rodriguez, CBS News.
I'm Peter King, CBS News.
Today is the day you switch to Rite Aid for one simple reason. Wellness Plus, the card that gives you credits you can use like cash. Plus, discounts that only members get. Plus, 20% off almost the entire store. Plus, that's for a whole year. Plus, rewards that start today and pile on every time you shop. So, if you're tired of missing out on all the pluses only Rite Aid delivers, visit RiteAidWellness.com to sign up and learn more today about Wellness Plus. Rite Aid. With us, it's personal.
This week only, get 3 original HP ink cartridges and save. Good things always come in 3s. 3-day weekends, 3-piece suits, 3D movies. And during this very special week, buy 3 original HP ink cartridges and save 40% on the 3rd. The quality and reliability of original HP ink. On sale this week at Staples, Office Depot, Office Max, Best Buy, and HPDirect.com. Offer expires 8/23/14 while supplies last. Restrictions apply. Visit hp.com/go/ink for details.
Newsradio 1070 WKOK presents On the Mark. It's a chance to voice your opinion on the events that affect life in the Susquehanna Valley. Call 1-800-795-9565 or email onthemark@wkok.com. Now, here are your hosts for On the Mark, Mark Lawrence and Joe McGranahan.
Greetings and welcome back to the WKOK Live Telephone Talk Show. It is entitled On the Mark, named after me, Mark Lawrence, a subpar host of the show.
I thought it was named after Mark Anthony.
No.
In honor of the great Roman that he was.
Involved in pirating the name of the show.
He was a Roman Catholic, so we couldn't do that.
That's
Yeah.
right.
He's stealing it. There's nothing wrong with Catholics. We have a
Well,
couple
he was
of them.
Roman.
We have a couple of them in the room even as we speak. So it is, let's see, the 19th day of August 2014. School starts tomorrow in a lot of area school districts, and we're so glad we have some guests in the studio. So we'll ask them to say hi collectively in a moment. The webcam is up and running. You simply go to WKOK.com and you can watch the show. Join the millions of people who have the opportunity to watch the On the Mark program every day. Just go to WKOK.com. You can watch it live, or it's a 24-hour archive right there. We overwrite it first thing in the morning. And then what we will do is put the whole show on our YouTube channel, so you can watch the show anytime in the months ahead.
If Kevin pans the camera out, he will see all the wonderful people who are here in the studio with us.
I can't get the camera out that far.
You can't get it out that far.
Quite
Okay.
that wide. Okay, so there's too many people. But the webcam is up and running. Kevin's in charge of the webcam. He makes sure that it's a crystal clear image and an ultra great soundtrack for you to listen to. On the Mark is brought to you by the Sunbury Motor Company, family-owned dealership since 1915, 4th Street, Sunbury, routes 11 and 15, Hummel's Wharf. They sell Ford, cars, and trucks. Hyundai, like the Hyundai Walking Dead model that was in the Sunbury Riverfront Park over the weekend. It's got a
They should have found another name for that, don't you think?
Walking Dead. Well, I don't know.
Car named
It was
Walking
very
Dead
attractive.
doesn't sound very good.
It was very attractive to the zombies. They
Was
liked
it?
it.
Did
Yep.
they? Okay.
It cost about $30,000 or so, but it is packed with every accessory known to man.
Is there a
including
zombie in the
GPS.
trunk?
There is not, but there is a 12-gauge sawed-off shotgun that you can use to kill
Good.
zombies if they come your way. So it's not the,
The
most
zombie
upbeat-
apocalypse is coming, you know.
Right, that's what I hear. It seems maybe even as you speak. So,
Probably.
Kias are also sold by Sunbury Motor Company, and Lincoln cars and trucks. They're a premier service provider for every single type of vehicle that's out there. SunburyMotors.com is their main website.
You know, the Sunbury Motors Hyundai dealership has the beautiful Elantra right now, under
that's right.
20,000.
You're driving one.
And it is very nicely equipped for a mid-sized vehicle under 20,000.
This is your live thing you were telling me about?
Yes, Joe. Thank you for
Thank you
for making the nice smooth transition more awkward than normal.
Thanks for pulling
So
back
you have
the
a
curtain.
car every week? You got a new car every week?
This week it is a Hyundai Elantra. So see the folks down at Sunbury Motors.
How'd you get that deal? How do I get it?
Well,
You're
first
not
of
in
all,
enough.
you have to be a sincere endorser of Sunbury Motor Company.
And stop interrupting the guy who's talking about
They
it.
give me a car every week, I'll be very sincere.
So what we've established is we know what you are.
We just don't know the price, right?
There you go.
Yeah, under 20,000, which is well under the price of comparable mid-sized vehicles. 30 miles to the gallon is the average right now on the trip back and forth to work. So what you end up saving from the average mid-sized vehicle in gas will actually make your lease payment for a year.
All right.
And a nicely equipped one at that. So,
Less than $20,000. That's
Yeah.
crazy.
yeah.
Half the families in America could just pay cash for the vehicle without a loan.
Just drive down to Sunbury Motors, see the folks at the Hyundai dealership down on North 4th Street, and find out more about the Hyundai Elantra. Well equipped with power windows, power doors, rear camera. That's really cool, by the way. I've never had a vehicle with a rear camera, and it is very, very convenient.
I know my lovely bride has one on her car. I'm hooked on it. I
Never
sit there,
leave home without it.
I watch it all the time. Even when I'm driving forward, I'm sitting there, oh, what's he doing
Well, the week
back
they
there?
give him a Lincoln Navigator, I'd like to have
You're
a ride in from
ready
work.
for a
I'm
ride,
ready to
yeah.
take over.
The
Yeah.
day he drives a Raptor, I'm sorry, we're going to pry the keys from your cold
I
dead
need to
hands.
call Mr. Mertz and find out how I get in on this.
Okay. I think you just did.
Okay.
That's the start. Lenape Solar email in basket is open. Simply email on the mark at WKOK.com. And in many cases, we do read your email on the radio. Lenape Solar has 3 foci, count them, 1, 2, 3, 1, HVAC systems, the ductless systems where you have a small unit on the outside, a little unit on the inside, ultra efficient heating and cooling with just a small tube to connect the two. And it's always very reasonably priced, and it's a great way to supplement the existing systems in your home. They also have commercial lighting audits that can help you make sure that you save a buck. When you use a watt of electricity, you get a watt back if you use the Lenape Solar.
A what?
A watt back.
You get a watt back.
You know,
He's
of
now into
payback.
puns. That's
Thank
just
you.
what we need on this show, a
Thank
pun.
My father used to say he autographs light bulbs.
Does he, Mr. Watt? And finally, last but not least, guess what? With Lenape Solar, how can you go? Solar.
Yes,
you can
harness
generate
the
electricity
power of the
or
sun,
heat.
right?
That's
Okay.
right. LenapeSolar.com.
Enough of this frivolity.
Is their main website. Some quick news headlines. The husband of an Ohio woman seriously injured in a Union County rock throwing incident. She may testify in court today. 4 teens have a preliminary hearing in Union County Court. It is in adult court. Republican Governor Tom Corbett's re-election campaign is seeking to distance itself from Rick Perry's legal troubles. Campaign manager Mike Barley said Monday that the campaign removed a video endorsement by the Texas governor of Corbett from its website shortly after a grand jury indicted Perry on Friday on 2 felony counts of abuse of power.
Over a veto that he
absolutely
put out.
threatened. If there are any non-felons who have endorsed Tom Corbett, please come forward right now.
No, that's unfair.
Oh, well, what about the guy up in Montana, the Minuteman, Brian Bolus? He's, of course, Corbett's best friend. Now he's in trouble with all their felonies. Rick Corbett's indicted. I don't know the criminal grading of the particular crime, but half the people Corbett touches are either in jail or going to head there
How
at
about
some
Mr.
point.
Wolf? Does he have some friends who are a little
No,
shady?
No,
he has some loans that were questionable.
Completely honest across the board with no felonious friends. So pretty soon it's going to be Corbett. You'll hear these crickets sounding. We have the endorsements of Governor Corbett. Unfortunately, we're not allowed in the prison to get the endorsements. So anyway, let's see. Another news story. One of the biggest new electric transmission line proposals in decade is turning into a debate over fracking, renewable energy, and the future of an aging energy grid. The $4 billion to $6 billion PPL project is designed to take electricity generated near the shale gas region and deliver it to New York, New Jersey, and Maryland. That's prompting questions from environmental groups. Jeff Title of the New Jersey chapter of the Sierra Club says the money would be better spent on renewable energy and efficiency projects. He says the group opposes having the line in its state. Allentown-based PPL says the 725-mile project would increase reliability and save customers money. The company hopes to know more from regulators by the end of the year. And Herman Goldman turned 101 this weekend and won't quit after 73 years working at the same New Jersey job. Goldman still shows up 4 days a week at the light fixtures company Capital Lighting of East Hanover, New Jersey. His co-workers celebrated his birthday with him Monday. Aside from a brief absence to serve in the U.S. Army in World War II, Goldman has worked continuously at Capital Lighting since 1941. The store says he was the first hired to sell items and stock and clean the displays. A co-worker says Goldman now specializes in rebuilding items that were damaged or thought to be unusable. Goldman lives in nearby Whippany, New Jersey, and still drives himself to work. At the age of 101, 73 years on the job.
Perhaps someone should check his driving ability.
Well, I don't know if he can still do it. So he seems to make it okay. It can't be any worse than the other drivers in New Jersey.
Well, that's true.
Is that
there have we found an element of agreement.
Thank you. We were talking before the break about removing God from public schools, whether it's a good idea to allow a Christian prayer to be led in the locker room for a football team prior to a game,
with the coach joining hands with the players. That's
right.
Part of the complaint.
And I really love separation of church and state. This does not bother me, but I think it should probably have some, maybe a non-denominational prayer in case there's an atheist there or somebody who's not a Christian, or maybe just a disclaimer that this is just a deep heartfelt, inspired prayer to the coach's God, but that other people may have gods that they worship differently. You say, everybody kind of worships something a little bit, and atheists may worship science, or not worship it, but certainly adhere to it or follow it or believe in it. So I honestly don't, it doesn't really bother me.
But what do we ban? I mean, I've watched fights on television, back in the days when they used to be on fairly consistently, and I've seen guys who are about to start a fight bless themselves or get down on their knees. Should that be banned? Is that an expression of religion?
Well, isn't that a private activity?
But it's a public event.
Right.
People who are there, what's wrong with praying at a football game? It's a public event.
Well, that's a school event.
Oh, okay. So what if it was a high school boxing club? Then it would not be permitted.
I think that is a school event. It's a high school club that's associated with
No,
the
I'm
school.
saying if someone were to bless themselves, and let's say Catholics do it quite frequently. So let's say a Catholic team is playing a Protestant or a team of public school students, and the Catholic kids bless themselves. Should that be banned because they are now in a public setting among people who are attending public schools? They bless themselves.
I think personal displays of religious faith are okay. I don't have any problem with that.
That's what this is. That's exactly.
No, this is a coach leading the players in a prayer. That's a big difference.
Well, the players are praying. You know, nothing says they were coerced into it or forced into it. Nothing said they were told they would be benched if they didn't pray.
Right, and I'm not actually even opposed to that. It doesn't really bother me. I think we should keep things to religion and education separate. But I think if a coach leads a prayer and I hate to call it a disclaimer, but if he provides full information to the players, that this is my faith, you may have a different faith, or you may have no faith. That's perfectly okay. This is a customary thing that we do before the games. I find that it helps me as a coach and it helps me as a human. You may find it uplifting. If you do not find it uplifting, helpful, or in any way something you want to participate in, just hold hands with your players, because it certainly is a brotherhood and a bond that we share as a team. I don't think there's anything wrong with that kind of disclaimer and asking folks if they find that there's anything wrong with that.
Well, there was a program.
Let me give out the phone numbers. 1-800-795-9565. That's 1-800-795-9565. Should this prayer be allowed in school? 1-800-795-9565.
There was a program years ago, I'm going to date myself, called Don McNeil's Breakfast Club. You ever hear of it?
I've heard of it, yes.
It was on ABC. It was Arthur Godfrey's primary competition. He always had an area of faith where he asked everybody to pray on his program every day. And he used the words that I've always thought kind of summarized what it should be. Each in his own words, each in his own way. Now, I don't see anything wrong with that.
I think I just said that in a much, much wordier fashion.
Okay, but so what harm does it make if people then have the same way, if they get together and they pray? If someone on that team was of a different faith and they didn't want to have the prayer and they were punished for it, that would be dead wrong. But if they are listening to it, I mean, I could be in that group and I might be of another faith, and I don't think there's anything wrong with me hearing someone else's prayer.
I agree. 1-800-795-9565. One of our listeners sends us a note, says it is not signed. It says, Joe's press release said that the atheist went undercover to take the photos. Did it occur to anyone that the person complaining about the constitutional violations might be a member of the team or a coach?
Could easily be.
I think we did talk about that.
I don't believe if you went undercover, then you weren't a member of the team. If you were a member of the team, you wouldn't need to be undercover.
Well, taking a picture undercover in the locker room would certainly be outside the norm. Peggy, you are on the mark. Thanks for checking in.
My question is, we are fighting a war in Iraq over people bringing church into state and trying to say that people, if Hamas was elected freely, then you have put a church organization in charge of government, if I'm not mistaken. Now, where is it going to end with us? Simply because we already have candidates telling us, I happen to be a Christian, so I don't know, but I don't want to be associated with people who want, if you're not Christian or even the right kind of Christian, this country is turning that way. So you've got Hamas, you've got ISIS, we are going to spend billions to blow up because we feel that they are oppressing the Christians and the Sunnis, I can't remember. They are oppressing them. We've got Syria, who is in the same fix. So why are we spending billions when we are saying in our own country it's okay for church and public tax money to be spent on organizations who are promoting one single religion? And I am a Christian, and I get that. But I feel uncomfortable when I go to a function and I'm in the Wise Center, and the only invocation given is Christian. I don't know if the Wise is mine, but I am kind of taken aback because of the billions and millions they have spent to help this area. Thank you very much.
Yeah, thank you very much, Peggy.
Well, and actually, wait. Oh, I was going to say before I was going to ask what makes it Christian, because I know that often that's a non-denominational service, and I just wondered what made it Christian if it's non-denominational.
Look at it this way. Look at what's going on out in Ferguson, Missouri. You have presumed ministers like Al Sharpton, who I find hard to believe was a minister, going out there and actually inflaming the situation. You know, so you have people who do things in the name of religion that are good, people who do things in the name of religion that are bad. Trying to lead a group of young people in a prayer doesn't seem to me like a very dangerous or harmful thing to be doing compared to other things that could be done. And the fact that they teach them there's something bigger than themselves, even if they come to accept later on that they don't want to participate in that faith. No one is driving them to it. No one's saying, no, I'm going to pick you up Sunday morning and take you to my church. And, you know, if you don't go, you're going to be on the bench at the next football game.
No, but you don't think that's potentially implied?
No.
Oh, I don't either.
Okay.
I'm sorry, I don't think
Well,
it
you
is
guys have
potentially.
been in that locker room, not me, so I do not know, but I'll have to trust your judgment.
No, I think there's a much better chance of you not playing in high school on a Friday night by not showing up for practice on Tuesday than not showing up for a voluntary whatever.
I can't imagine that a team coach who wants to win a game would bench somebody who was an excellent player because they didn't pray with the team.
There are voluntary workouts all summer long, and there are players that don't go to those voluntary workouts.
So the players
still
do have
play.
a mind of their own and can choose.
I would think they do.
Whether they participate in that prayer or not. All right, 1-800-795-9565. One more email before we take a quick break, but we'd love to hear from you. 1-800-795-9565. One of our listeners sends us a note. It's not signed. It says, God bless you, or have a blessed day. Does that bother you if you know the other person is not, assuming you are a Christian, of your religion? Remember, the Muslim religion says there's no God but God. So
Well, we
it doesn't
could probably
bother me.
agree on that.
1-800-795-9565. Give us a buzz. Lenape Solar email in basket open on the mark at WKOK.com. The address. Our main sponsor is the Sunbury Motor Company.
While looking for a vehicle, you know that if it sounds too good to be true, chances are it is too good to be true. You get the runaround, gotta go from place to place. Well, you can just skip all of that and go straight to Sunbury Motor Company. Sunbury Motor Company has been satisfying more customers and selling more cars since 1915, so you know they've got it right. No offers that look good on paper or online, and then you get disappointed when you see them in person. Sunbury Motor Company offers a lineup few other auto dealers in the area can compete with. With the inventory of Ford, Hyundai, Kia, and Lincoln vehicles, there will be no problem finding the right vehicle that fits your needs and your budget. And the friendly, knowledgeable staff's ready and able to help you with everything from the test drive to the drive off the lot. See for yourself at Sunbury Motors. Sunbury Motors, Ford, Lincoln, Hyundai in the North 4th Street Auto Plaza, Sunbury. And Sunbury Motors Kia, routes 11 and 15, Hummel's Wharf. Look for them online anytime at sunburymotors.com.
This is Tanya Diddy. If you've been wondering how you can save money and the environment for the future, then all you have to do is look to the sun. Let Lenape Solar enlighten you. Lenape Solar installs residential and commercial solar systems, each custom designed to meet your individual needs. And we're committed to buy American products. Making an investment in a solar system today is much more affordable than it was 2 to 3 years ago, and the payback is much quicker. You can trust the experts at Lenape Solar to help enlighten you to a brighter tomorrow, because we're committed to you and to our community. Call us at 286-1496 and start saving today.
Now is the time to go to your Kubota dealer and get a brand new Kubota M-Series tractor during Kubota's Gear Up and Go sales event. If you're thinking about a rugged utility tractor and the year-round comfort of a Grand X-Cab, then a new Kubota has your name on it. With a smooth-running diesel engine and IntelliShift transmission, your Kubota dealer is the place to start. Right now, get your own Kubota M-Series tractor for 0 down and 0% financing for up to 60 months. So for a great deal, think orange at the Kubota Gear Up and Go sales event. For more information or to find a participating dealer, go to Kubota.com.
Zero down, 0% APR financing for terms up to 60 months on selected equipment now through September 30th, 2014. Not available for rental national accounts or government customers. 0% APR low rate financing not available with instant rebate offers. Financing available through Kubota Credit Corporation USA subject to credit approval. Other exceptions may apply. For more information, call toll-free 1-888-465-8268.
The store is open. Sunbury Broadcasting Corporation brings you Half Price Susquehanna Valley, where you can buy a certificate for half the cost of its value. Bring home the burritos, take those tacos, savor the salsa. Wednesday morning at 9, grab a $25 gift certificate from Casa Sanchez, routes 11 and 15, Shamokin Dam for $12.50. Casa Sanchez takes great pride that their food's made daily with the freshest products and locally grown vegetables. Get shopping and save this week at Half Price Susquehanna Valley, only from WKOK.com.
Welcome back to WKOK Live Telephone Talk Show. Mark Lawrence here, subpar host of the show. Joe McGranahan, mayor of Shamokin Dam, Republican stalwart and leader of Christian prayer in inappropriate locations. He is with us, and he is looking good. You look great. Different
prayer.
Glasses, something different?
No.
Drop a pound or two?
I have dropped a pound or two, yes.
Okay, good.
I shaved this morning, took a shower.
Did you?
Yeah. Was that it? Possibly. I look cleaner than usual.
Anything else I need to know?
No, that's about it.
Any other strange bathroom habits? Or?
We have an email.
Well, actually, before you get to that, Joe, I want you to clarify something. No, I don't want to know. No desire at all to know about that. I wanted you to clarify, Joe. The story you referred to in the first half hour of the program was a football team that had an organized prayer before games, or does it say in the story whether this was coach-led, player-led, coach-encouraged, or anything along that line?
No, it doesn't pick it up at its inception. It just says that once these atheists discovered, or the American Humanist Association discovered that this was going on, apparently because of a complaint by one unnamed individual, that they went and investigated, and they went undercover, and they took pictures of the coach and the players holding hands and praying. Now, it doesn't say whether it was on the field or whether it was in the gym, but they also got upset because the team's workout schedule included those words, which I gather was a piece of paper they saw in the locker room somewhere. And the cheerleaders wrote a Bible verse on a large banner. Now, I would assume if the cheerleaders were involved, it was an outdoor activity. It was at a game, wouldn't you?
Well, basketball's indoor with cheerleaders.
Well, yeah, but do cheerleaders go to football practices and cheer? Cheer the practice?
No.
No, I didn't think so.
You're asking the wrong guy.
So, but, and this is deep South. It's the South, and then they're more religious, I guess, or more willing to show it.
The reason that I asked, Joe, is because, as far as I know, if the players organize one, it is fine. If the coaches request it or assign someone to do it, that's where it runs into a constitutionality issue.
Well,
and of course, it has to be. It has
that.
to be voluntary. Well, I think you might want to look up the Anti-Defamation League and find out.
Their congressman is a guy named Doug Collins, and he said the liberal atheist interest groups are trying to bully Chestatee High School kids, say they have a reason to believe that expressions of religious freedom are not an isolated event in northeast Georgia. Collins wrote this in a statement, and they're right. In Hall County and throughout Georgia's 9th District, we understand and respect the Constitution and cherish our right to worship in our own way. So, I mean, their congressman is saying that he doesn't see anything wrong with this.
Well, I'm sure you can find a lot of people in high places that don't see anything wrong with it, except people who wish to adhere to the Constitution.
And looking at the Anti-Defamation League information, voluntary prayer presented and led by students without official permission or sanction may be constitutional, provided that it is not coercive in a way. Coercive in a way.
In any way.
In any way, thank you.
One of the local pastors sends us a note, says, whether they're morally right or not, the courts have ruled that any prayer, but private prayer, is illegal at football games. And then quoting from several decisions, a school district's policy of permitting student-led, student-initiated prayer before football games is unconstitutional. It is also unconstitutional for a school official, including a coach, to initiate or lead a team in prayer, nor may a school official ask a team member or any other student to initiate or lead a prayer before, during, or after a public or school-sponsored athletic activity or event. It is also unconstitutional for a member of the clergy to offer prayers before or after public school athletic activities or events. Voluntary prayer presented and led by students without official permission or sanction may be constitutional, provided that it is not coercive in any way. So I'll read that last one because that speaks to what Kevin had just said. Voluntary prayer presented and led by students without official permission or sanction may be constitutional, provided that it's not coercive in any way. And
so, if a prayer, give me an example of that. How would you define something that passed that test?
Well, a group of students of one particular faith, whatever it is, who right before the game step off to the northeast corner of the locker room, hold hands, and offer an out loud or quiet prayer among themselves without reeling in the rest of the team or other players who might not be interested in participating in that prayer. That might be an example of that.
So wouldn't the wording have something to do with it?
Of
not
the prayer?
Coercive in any way?
Right, of the
So,
prayer.
dear Lord, please grant that those kids who are not here praying with us join us. Is that now coercive?
No, but that would be pretty common in a prayer, to ask that others who aren't involved become involved. Tim, thank you so much for calling in. You are on the mark.
Good morning, Mark. How are you?
I'm great. I'm glad to hear from you.
Listening with interest to your conversation about this, and as a former school solicitor and a civil rights lawyer, it's an issue I follow a lot, and I find that there's often a lot of confusion about this particular issue among people who really want to be well informed.
Okay, go right ahead. Clarify.
Well, the first distinction is we often hear people sort of confuse public versus private organizations, and the Second Amendment really only applies to government, from the federal government down to your local school district. So things like, how a Catholic school team prays are outside of the ambit of that. They're not restricted. If a private organization like Bucknell University chooses to offer prayer, it's not restricted in how it does that. So the restrictions are really when we're dealing with government. And there actually, Ben is sort of hitting one of the nails on the head. When you have religious expression in, say, a school, some things count, like the age of the children, how likely they are to see it as being sponsored by the school, and that likelihood really is often about whether it's student-led versus faculty or some other employee-led. That can make a huge difference.
All right. Well, thank you. Tim Bowers is an attorney in Sunbury. His office is on Front Street and does a lot of solicitor-type work. Well, how would you best describe the bulk of your practice at this point?
The bulk of my practice now is plaintiff's side civil rights litigation.
All right.
Representing people who have not been treated appropriately by government.
So what if I wanted to pray and I called you and said, "You're my attorney. I want you to help me organize a prayer at school. Find some way to get around this constitutional prohibition." Could you find a way? Could you find a way as an attorney to do that?
Sure. The Equal Access Act is your key to doing that, Joe. And when you say, if I want to, I need to know who you are in the system. If you're a student, it's really quite easy. You can sort of pray on your own time anywhere. You can do a prayer at the flagpole group on the way into school. You can even have a school-organized activity that revolves around religious study and have a faculty advisor, though that faculty advisor can't drive what goes on. They can be there to tell you, make sure you're in compliance with school rules and things like that. So there's really broad opportunity. What you don't have the opportunity for is, say, I'm going to, have a prayer for the entire school population. And where you see instances like that, or maybe morning announcements or commencement speeches, if you have a commencement speech, the rules are a little interesting. If the school exercises no editorial control at all over the speaker's choice of content, then that student is sort of free to say what they want, and if they make religious references, it's not a violation of the prohibition against establishment religion. If, however, the school does exercise editorial control and permits religious expression, that may be problematic under the Constitution.
Well, thank you. That clears that up a little bit, I think. Thanks very much for your comments.
Yeah, thank you.
Thank you, Joe.
Take care.
Thank you, Counselor. Come up and visit us sometime. We could dig in even deeper into this.
We have an email from Than that says, please give me one example of Al Sharpton causing a problem. I don't think Than's ever heard of Tawana Brawley.
Was that in Missouri?
No, that was in New York, I believe.
When was that?
That was a few years back, where she claimed she was raped, and it turned out she wasn't, and he was on TV demanding justice and leading marches and stirring up trouble, and it turned out to be a hoax.
Well, I think the context we're talking about is Ferguson, Missouri. What's an example where he's been insightful in Missouri?
He led a very, I thought, inflammatory speech after the police released the videotape of Mr. Brown supposedly stealing cigars and bullying somebody, and saying it was unconscionable that they released it, and he was rather... I thought his comments were inflammatory. They certainly weren't designed to calm or soothe things over. Whether it was right to release that video or not is beside the point. I'm just talking about people going out there, what they used to call in the South, outside agitators going in.
Right.
And
yeah, you wouldn't want to stir up the have-nots.
Well, they're not have-nots now because they're looting everything in sight, and including other stores and neighboring towns.
I'm sure there's some criminality among them, yep. All right, one of our listeners on the topic of God in our schools says, God bless you, or have a blessed day. Does it bother you? Oh, I already read that.
Yeah, you read that. I think I'm having deja vu all over again over here.
All right, this is from lovely young Margaret. Says, good morning, guys. When Joe asked why would outsiders and atheists coming into an area, the first thing that came to mind is as to why is to educate and to inform folks who may never have thought of the way someone different than themselves might think. As for the banner the cheerleaders made, would there be criticism if it were a quote from the Quran or Chairman Mao's Little Red Book? Just ask.
Did I say that? I don't think I did.
Well, no, but I think, she's making a point that if the quote was from W.C. Fields, would there be this much,
Well, I can think of some quotes from W.C. Fields that would definitely be banned at school.
From the school, all right. And finally, one other note on this before we hit the bottom of the hour break. It says, which God do you mean? Allah, Yahweh, the loving God, the vengeful God, Hindu? Really? Christians feel attacked by simply being questioned. Your faith is more substantial than that, I'm sure. 3 or 4 atheists should not scare 300 million Christians, says Than. Yeah, I agree. That is an excellent point. That's sort of my gut reaction when I hear this, that, people are so upset, you're taking God out of schools, or you won't allow a Christian prayer in a football team. In what way could your faith possibly be threatened by that? Why would that possibly
turn that question back
religion?
on yourself. Why does it hurt atheists? If it doesn't hurt religion, why does it hurt atheists? Why does it hurt anyone?
I think it hurts people if you take a constitution that your whole country agrees to try to abide by and you shred it in your corner of the locker room in a public building, in a school, and say that constitutional separation, this idea that the government is to be separate from religion it doesn't count here. So if
it
there's
doesn't
the
say
beginning,
separate, it says shall
I
establish
understand.
no religion.
That's what it says in the piece of paper. But since then, interpretations
that's our Constitution.
Have said that the intent is that we should keep government and religion separate. But you say, well, yes, we should keep them separate, except when we are together as a football team in a public school in a locker room, we can impose our prayers on unwanting students.
If there is a class called Christianity is the right religion, I would certainly be appalled by that and say that's wrong. That is a definite establishment.
Well, that's what the coach is doing.
No, not really. To pray is not. You could pray. You don't know that they're saying it has to be a Christian prayer. We don't know that. It could be a prayer to Hindu. Someone could be praying out of Chairman Mao's Little Red Book. We don't know. We're assuming it's Christian.
Well, but even if it isn't, the idea of imposing a religion on young people through the eyes of a coach, because he's a mentor. Remember, everything the coach does is sort of this, you're to emulate it.
He said he joined them. It didn't say he initiated it.
Well, that's different. If he's not leading it, then that is.
But if he's taking part in it, that's part of the problem too, as these people see it.
A student-led, non-denominational prayer with a disclaimer in a locker room is okay with me.
Oh, for heaven's sakes!
Can you think of any better opportunity for us to move on?
To go into to a commercial break? No, I think after this
to
one,
our next topic. Do you have something else you'd like to talk about, sir?
Well, we could talk about Ferguson, I guess, but I was interested in another lawsuit. Maybe you'd find this interesting. And here's one where I have a certain amount of, really a great amount of sympathy for the person filing the suit. You might be surprised to learn that Aunt Jemima, one of the most recognized faces in syrup and pancake mixes, was a real person. Did you know that?
No, I did not.
Well, we take a break, and I'll come back, and I'll tell you what's happened with her heirs.
All right, Kevin Herr is on board with this concept of taking a break right now. You are listening to On the Mark, WKOK Live Telephone Talk Show. We got about 20 minutes of wide open phones. The topic of your selection, 1-800-795-9565. Lenape Solar, email inbasket open at onthemark@WKOK.com, and we will be right back.
The Thyra M. Humphrey Center for Breast Health at Evangelical Community Hospital has a new imaging option for women with dense breasts. The Somovi automated breast ultrasound system captures multiple 3D images of the whole breast, leading to more accurate detection of abnormalities in dense tissue. Unlike other 3D imaging options, Somovi is radiation-free and readily accepted by most insurances. To learn more, visit evanhospital.com.
It's the Dodge Summer Clearance Event, and the Dodge Dart gets 41 mpg highway. That kind of gas mileage means even more performance, so expect to get jealous looks from the other fuel-efficient cars. Maybe it's the music, available Sirius XM, or they're just wondering how one car can go so far, so fast on so little gas. Your answer? Most awarded vehicle in its class. Come in and get a great deal at the Dodge Summer Clearance Event today. Well-qualified lessees get a low-mileage lease on the 2014 Dodge Dart SXT with 35 mpg highway for $99 a month for 24 months with $22.49 due at signing. Tax, title, and license extra. Dart Aero model EPA estimated 28 city, 41 highway mpg with 6-speed manual transmission. Based on 2013 Ward small upper sedan vehicle segmentation costing under $25,000. Call 1-888-4DODGE for lease details. Requires dealer contribution and lease through Ally Financial. 20-cent charge for each mile over 20,000. Residency restrictions apply. Take delivery by 9/2.
It's a lot of fun, but it's one day only. It's the 44th Annual New Berlin Day, August 23rd from 9 till 4. It's one of the largest one-day antique arts and craft shows in Central PA in the heart of New Berlin. Over 125 vendors and Farrell Winery will be here with strolling musicians to entertain you. The restored 1815 courthouse, now a museum, will be open. You could win a quilted queen-size reversible quilt or join the silent auction with items donated by local artists. And True Heart will be singing on Central Stage. It's rain or shine, so come and spend the day. Small town America is alive. For more info, visit newberlinpa.com.
See the news with News Radio 1070 WKOK's YouTube channel. Subscribe to WKOK's YouTube channel today, and we'll let you know when we post a new video. Now, you can see breaking news, watch WKOK's feature stories, and see our live telephone talk show On the Mark. Visit WKOK.com or search WKOK on YouTube from your computer, tablet, or mobile device to subscribe today. It's the News Radio 1070 WKOK YouTube channel. Subscribe today with our link at WKOK.com.
That's me in the corner. That's me in the spotlight, losing my religion, trying to keep up.
Welcome back to the WKOK Live Telephone Talk Show. Mark Lawrence here, not doing a very good job, but we have on the other side of the glass Kevin Herr, the greatest engineer the world has ever known, has won so many Associated Press and PAB awards that they're soon going to just call it the Kevin Herr Award, and if someone else were to win it, then they'll handle that issue when it comes to it. Joe McGranahan, the co-host. We had talked about faith earlier. Aunt Jemima is a real person. Doesn't surprise me.
Was a real person. Her name was Anna Short Harrington, and her likeness became Aunt Jemima. And she was an actual employee of the Quaker Oat Company who died in 1955. Now her heirs want a piece of the fortune they believe is rightfully theirs. D.W. Hunter, the great-grandson of Harrington, filed a class-action lawsuit against Pepsi-Cola and its related subsidiaries on behalf of all the Harrington great-grandchildren. The suit alleges that PepsiCo, Quaker Oats, Pinnacle Foods, and Hillshire Brands deliberately withheld information that identified Harrington as a former employee of Quaker Oats while simultaneously exploiting her image and recipes without paying her a fair share of the royalties to her or her related family members for over 60 years. They are seeking $2 billion. Billion with a B, plus punitive damages. In the lawsuit, Hunter claims that the companies lied about not having employment records for Harrington, but had her image in the U.S. Patent Office and Trademark Office. While Aunt Jemima originally debuted in the late 1880s, the character was not trademarked until 1937. and Anna Short Harrington assumed the role of the recognized breakfast matron in 1935. Reportedly, she was selected for her original pancake recipe, was then mass-produced for the grocery store shelves, but Harrington was allegedly dissuaded from hiring a lawyer and therefore never collected royalties from the use of her recipes. Now that's unfair. I don't know, $2 billion worth. I doubt that they'll get that, but they should prevail, don't you think?
Well, it sounds like they have a case. If not for the image, the recipes, that's a sort of a tangible thing. An image, I mean, you can take an image of anybody anywhere and use it. But I don't know, maybe there's a case there too. But yes, sir.
I was going to say, have either of you gentlemen seen the Confederate States of America movie that came out in 2004? It was a British documentary-style movie of their impression of what would have happened if the South won the Civil War and the changes that we would see today.
No, I must have missed that one.
You might want to check that out. It's usually on...
Mark's yawning. I don't think he's interested.
That's incidental. Has nothing to do with Kevin.
Okay.
Continue, Kevin.
Not this time, anyway. It's very interesting because it has a lot... and they, at the very end of it, they take a look at things today, and Aunt Jemima is one of those things, depicted, and Uncle Ben's rice, the pictures depicted on the box, and how we don't necessarily see it as offensive, but when put in the right context, could be. So it's a very interesting take on it. It's called CSA, the Confederate States of America, and it's usually available on the streaming services as well.
CSA. All right, I'm going to have to look that. Confederate States of America.
All right. Tony, thank you for waiting. We're talking about Aunt Jemima.
Yeah, let's not forget Mrs. Butterworth. But yeah, I was listening to your religion discussion. What we ought to all do is lock ourselves in our house and just keep our mouths shut. I mean,
I would, but I wouldn't make any money.
If a person is a true atheist, what do they care if you pray or not?
Well,
yeah, if they don't believe in anything, why do they care that you do?
Here's what I always say, Tony. If I'm wrong, no one's going to tell me. I mean, when it's all said and done, if I'm wrong, there's nobody there to tell me that.
Yeah, I mean, and if Christians are right, well, I won't want to be an atheist.
Okay.
Well, they always say there are no atheists in foxholes. That's from World War II.
I was never in a foxhole.
All right. Thank you very much, sir.
Because I had it big. That's why I wouldn't go in one. I have one more.
Yeah, go ahead.
No, forget it. There's a state trooper ahead. Forget it. Bye.
All right. Thank you. Goodbye.
He says he has a state trooper. What?
Something.
Oh, okay.
Something about a trooper.
Is he being pulled over?
I don't. It didn't sound like he was driving.
He said there was a state trooper ahead.
Oh, okay. So he must have been feeling a little bit guilty about being on the phone.
Isn't that strange? One of the favorite phrases of troopers when people slow down, when they said that when they see the cop, is they say, "Oh, he found religion." You know, it's like we at one time I participated in the state police aerial reconnaissance program where you're in a plane flying over Interstate 80, and when people get wind that there's a speed trap ahead, they slow down, and so there'll be time in a car that's going, 90, 90, 90, 70, 77. They say, "Oh, he got religion. He found out about us," So that's funny.
That's
Fran,
one way to look at it.
Thank you so much for checking in. You are on the mark.
Good morning, gentlemen. Correct me if I'm wrong, and I haven't listened to every minute, but has anybody called in yet about this 911 quote spat that's in today's paper?
Not yet.
Have not.
No.
Well, first of all, it was on the radio first. We've been talking about it, and
Yeah.
we haven't taled about it yet. Go right ahead.
Oh, okay. I just think that we should have some concerns about it. Vinny's holding us hostage here again because he says he's protecting the taxpayers again, but in fact he has not paid two bills. There are two delinquent bills. Now, I live in northern Northumberland County, of course, and it goes from Point Township up, so I'm very concerned. I recently had somebody in my family who had to use 911. They were there in a shot. They were wonderful, sending EMTs and all that. I don't understand his thinking in this. Apparently, I don't understand. There may be already a 911 in effect for the rest of the county. Do you know if that's the case?
Yes, it is the case.
There is.
Northumberland County says they have the capability. Well, they're doing it for most of the county now, but they have the capability, they say, to do it for the northern part of the county.
But all these years, why was that not done? Why were we connected with Union County?
I think because originally they didn't have the equipment, and there were coverage problems and issues like that were easily solved by having Union County do the dispatching.
But that still does not discount the fact that 2 payments were due that he never paid. And now he's saying that they're playing politics. If I don't pay my bills, I don't think I'm playing politics, but he's good at that. I am just furious at his reaction to this whole thing. He is concerned about those people in southern Northumberland County because that's where he gets his votes.
Well,
that's all I want to say.
Well, you got to follow the money, too. Consider this.
Yeah.
It has nothing to do with dispatching or safety. It has to do with the money that the telephone lines bring in. If you have a landline, you pay a 911 fee. That's what he's chasing after, is the revenue. It has nothing to do with dispatching or territory. If it's just territory, obviously folks in Upper Northumberland County are well served already.
Right.
But it's you get more money out of it if you keep it in your township.
But that's going downhill because more and more people are getting rid of their landlines and they're using cell phones exclusively.
Right.
Well, I'm
but
sure
tell me,
that'll change soon.
Tell me why. How can you justify him not paying 2 of, quote, our bills?
I don't know. Now you know you can't. And now you know why at least 2 people have stepped forward and say, I am running for commissioner in 2 years. It's time for rational leadership. Of course, Kimberly Best is one, and Rick Schock has talked about the fact that he's running again.
Well, I think I saw, and I don't know whether you had it on the air.
Thank you, Fran.
You're welcome.
Well, wait a second. Fran's gone.
Sorry.
All right.
You got to be fast, man.
Well, I do. Your itchy trigger finger over there. But I think someone said that they paid the bills, but they reduced the amount. They didn't pay the full amount.
That is talked about in the letter from Union County.
Right, okay. So they arbitrarily decided that the amount of money they had been paying was too much, and they reduced it.
No, that he arbitrarily decided. It's not a they. All right, let's take a quick break. We can keep talking about 911. One of our listeners sends us a note. Aunt Jemima visited Lincoln Elementary School in Shamokin when I was in first grade, way back in 1957. She was a lovely, gracious woman, says Barb in Cole Township. 1-800-795-9565. More minutes of open phone, the topic of your selection. You can email us at onthemark@WKOK.com. And our main sponsor is the Sunbury Motor Company.
While looking for a vehicle, you know that if it sounds too good to be true, chances are it is too good to be true. You get the runaround, got to go from place to place. Well, you can just skip all of that and go straight to Sunbury Motor Company. Sunbury Motor Company has been satisfying more customers and selling more cars since 1915, so you know they've got it right. No offers that look good on paper or online, and then you get disappointed when you see them in person. Sunbury Motor Company offers a lineup few other auto dealers in the area can compete with. With the inventory of Ford, Hyundai, Kia, and Lincoln vehicles, there will be no problem finding the right vehicle that fits your needs and your budget. And the friendly, knowledgeable staff's ready and able to help you with everything from the test drive to the drive off the lot. See for yourself at Sunbury Motors. Sunbury Motors, Ford, Lincoln, Hyundai in the North 4th Street Auto Plaza, Sunbury. And Sunbury Motors Kia, routes 11 and 15, Hummel's Wharf. Look for them online anytime at sunburymotors.com.
As the sun was setting over my son's blanket fort, a smile crossed my face because I had dinner covered. Earlier at Walmart, my senses told me my family would want something delicious. Coca-Cola and a market-side rotisserie chicken from the deli answered the call.
Mom, can I have some more?
Looks like another dinner saved by Mom the Incredible.
Find the effortless meal your family deserves at the Walmart Deli with a tender market-side rotisserie chicken, 2 pounds of savory potato salad, and icy cold 2-liter Coke for $9.50 or less. Tax deposit and CRV not included.
The Battery, modern-day fire, powering everything from remote-control cars to the car in your garage. So when your car battery is reaching the end of the line, or you're wondering whether it is, stop by Advance Auto Parts. We'll test your old one for you, free of charge. And if you purchase a new Autocraft battery, we'll install it for free. Only if you'd like us to, of course. Advance Auto Parts. Let's get you back to the garage.
Most vehicles, most locations. See store for details.
Hi, this is real estate agent Dale Tittle from Bowen Agency Realtors. If you are thinking of buying or selling a home, I can help. Whether it's downtown or the rural Susquehanna Valley, buyer and seller opportunities are better than ever. Call me at Bowen Agency Realtors to find out more. Many experts say real estate is the key to long-term wealth. So start building your future with me, Dale Tittle, the house sold name in real estate. When you call Bowen Agency Realtors at 570-743-2165 for all your real estate needs.
Camera operator, selector of perfect bumper music, street-level Republican conservative wisdom, father of Daniel, play-by-play Shikellamy award-winning announcer.
Stop already.
Kevin Herr. Thank
and
you,
he just
sir.
walked on water. I saw him going across the control room on walking on water.
I'll tell you what, if it's frozen, he can do that.
Oh, excuse me, that's a religious reference which is certainly banned from this public
No,
broadcast.
anybody can walk on water. You just freeze it and away you go.
You can slip on it, too.
Can you?
Yes. We have Chris on the line from Milton. Good morning, Chris. You're on the mark.
Good morning, Pale-Faced Joe. You just love those racial stereotypes, don't you?
What racial stereotype now?
Oh, didn't know Aunt Jemima was a racial stereotype.
I'm reading a story about her heirs filing a lawsuit. I didn't say anything about a racial stereotype.
Is Aunt Jemima
I did.
black?
You didn't. I did. Aunt Jemima is a racial stereotype.
Is she black?
Yeah, she is.
Oh, I'm sorry if I haven't even been envisioning that.
Her original form was much more like a racial stereotype. It was taken from the minstrel show things back in the 1880s.
Okay.
So, your point.
Now that you've appropriately voided.
I think your standard on the religion issue of has it ever hurt anyone to say or listen to? I can think of a lot of things that wouldn't hurt you to say or listen to, but whether you should be coerced into saying them is something else again, or be made to feel separate because you're not saying them.
Well,
is
Chris,
something else again.
Here's a good email. Comes in from the third smartest woman in the world. Says, would you think Joe would mind if Muslims set up a series of loudspeakers around Shamokin Dam to announce the call to prayer 5 times a day?
If they didn't violate the noise ordinance in the borough.
Yes, but church bells are okay as long as...
If they violate the noise ordinance, they aren't. That's
Things
why
that Joe doesn't think are likely to happen, he doesn't really, is never offended by.
Well, I'm not offended by Muslims' prayer or calling people to pray 5 days a week.
Don't you think that would add a great character or flavor to
Yeah,
Shamokin Dam?
I mean, what harm would it do Joe to kneel down and bow to the east 5 times before his meeting starts?
Well, see, now you're coercing me into practicing their religion. The fact that they want to practice
no,
it...
just going through a semblance of it. You don't have to believe.
But you're missing the entire point.
Now you're
here.
insulting those who do believe.
Yeah, you are.
Here's another thing. Stinky Friedman used to say when he finished a political speech.
What are you going through your morning chores here?
Stinky Friedman.
Kinky Friedman.
Oh, Kinky Friedman. Okay, the guy that ran for governor of Texas or whatever.
Correct.
Okay.
He used to end his speeches with may you be blessed by the God of your choice. And I always thought that was pretty good. I suppose it might be offensive to Christians because they believe there's only one God and there is no choice. But, if it offends Christians, good. Maybe I'll start saying it.
All right, thank you.
So,
Have a cold
may
one
you be
for me.
blessed by the God of your
Do you
choice.
remember the old song by Little Jimmy Dickens, May the Bird of Paradise Fly Up Your Nose?
What does that mean exactly?
I don't know, but
I'm not sure, but it doesn't sound comfortable.
It seems appropriate after what Chris said.
Thank you, Joe.
Thank you, Mark.
On
Are
the
we
mark,
done?
Well, I have to say
Apparently
a couple
we
words.
are.
You'll get 10 more seconds. Hold on. On the Mark, brought to you by the Sunbury Motor Company, family-owned dealership since 1915, sunburymotors.com. Lenape Solar, email in-basket, always open. Email on the mark at WKOK.com, lenapesolar.com. 24-hour archive at WKOK.com, and the rest at YouTube, WKOK.
See you Thursday morning. Have a good day tomorrow with Than.
You had an open mic, and that's all you had to say?
That's it.
We do have an open day tomorrow with Ann Mitchell, the co-host. This is WKOK Sunbury.